Hello everybody, welcome to the next episode of Decants with D. Today we have something very special for you in store again. Brunello di Montalcino. I am Dietmar Ostermann. I am your host tonight and I'm the regular guy from Long Island. Okay, Brunello di Montalcino. I just love to say the name, Brunello di Montalcino. The first reason why you should try this wine and drink this wine is so that you can actually say the name, Brunello di Montalcino, and people will be impressed. But it's a great wine. It's made out of the Sangiovese grape, just like a Chianti, but in the area of Montalcino, in that little square 6 mile by 6 mile area south of Florence, about an hour and a half south of Florence, they call the Sangiovese Brunello. Back in the 1970s, nobody had ever heard of this town. It was a poor little town on the hilltops of the South Tuscan area. And at that time, the US Banfi Corporation, that had made a huge success with the Lambrusco wine that came from Veneto and sold that and marketed in America, decided to make another coup. They planted a white wine and that white wine was a flop. And then they took all the parcels of land, the vineyards that they had, and started to plant the Sangiovese grape. And they created the Brunello di Montalcino, and they used their advertising machine and marketing expertise and the distribution network in the United States to make this wine popular in the US. And then from there, it became popular all over the world internationally. The area in Montalcino, it's a beautiful town on this hilltop, has some very different climate than the Chianti Classicos that grow just about half an hour north from there. It's very dry heat. It's in the shadow of this Monte Amiata, and in the summer there's oftentimes summer rains coming, but they rain off at that mountain. So that gives the Brunello some extra depth that you don't have in a Chianti wine. That Brunello with the extra depth, you would want to drink not just with a pizza or with a pasta. That is a wine that you reserve for a very special meal. You would enjoy it with a bistecco or with a lamb or with some game. And it's a big wine. It's a wine that, unlike the Chianti, which you want to drink young, this wine, the good Brunellos, will easily last 20 years, in good years 30 years. Some of them have even gone as far as 40 years. People also call it, because of that, Tuscany's answer to Piedmont. So what the Brunello di Montalcino is for Tuscany is the Barolo for Piedmont. So it's near there, near the king of the wines. A Brunello has to be 4 years in oak. So it's an investment already by the time you get it. Probably it takes 5 years to come out to market. And then you really don't want to drink it until it is about 8 or 10 years old. Let us get started by trying some of those Brunellos. I have them decanted ahead of time. You do need to decant a Brunello at least an hour, ideally 2 hours before you drink it. So I opened these up about 2.5 hours ago. I have a nice crystal glass from the Austrian crystal maker Riedel here. I also have my Riedel decanter, and I'm pouring the first Brunello. This Brunello is the 2012 Pian delle Vigne. And 2012 was an excellent year in Brunello, Montalcino. All of the wines we are tasting here today are 2012s. So we are doing a horizontal of 2012s, And 2012 is 8 years old, so it's still on the very, very young side, but I'm pretty confident that this will be a good tasting. So here let's look at the wine. The wine is clearly not as dark as a Cabernet, much more a reddish brown tone of a Chianti. Not surprisingly, it's a Sangiovese grape, but has a very good look, some ruby red and some orange sides. This wine is leaving very nice legs in the glass. If you look at the bottle, it's a conservative bottle. Antinori is the Robert Mondavi of Italy. It's the most famous vinter in Italy. They also make very great Chianti wines. So this one here has a very conservative label, black label. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. Very, very elegant and pleasant. Let's go to step number 3. Looking was 1, smelling was 2. Number 3 step is to actually taste the wine in the mouth, on the palate, as we say. And then the 4th step, which goes back to back, is to actually swallow it and enjoy the finish of the wine. So let's go to step 3 and 4. Lots of cherry, explosion of cherry, long finish, good finish, conservative, not overwhelming. The wine is getting ready to be drinking now. I can easily see this wine lasting for another year or 2 or 3 before it getting better and better. So a very positive surprise. This wine is rated 4.3 on Vivino. It costs about $75. I looked it up on Vivino before. You can't buy on Vivino right now the 2012, but you can order online at Vivino the 2013, which was also a good year. All right, let's pour this away. And let's look at contestant number 2. Different decanter. First I pour a little bit in here to clean out the glass, make it ready for the next wine. Okay. Now this wine is the San Filippo Le Lucerne. Also 2012. San Filippo comes as a regular Brunello di Montalcino, and the slightly better one comes from this single vineyard called Le Lucerne. I'd like you to try the Le Lucerne when you buy this, because the regular is not quite as good as the single vineyard wine. Let's look at it. The color is much darker than the Antinori product we just tasted, but a very good looking color. I like the darkness. Typically Sangiovese is not as dark. Beautiful legs on the glass. Looking at the label, conservative. Brunellos oftentimes come in darker bottles and with darker labels. All right, let's give it a sniffy sniff. I think I smell some plum. It's a little smoky also. Okay, let's get to step 3 and give it a whirl. A little bit in the mouth, a lot of tannins, fills out the mouth completely, explosions of fruit, but I did like in the palate the Antinori Pian Delle Vigne a little bit better. This one also, I have the feeling, would still develop in the bottle for at least another 2 years before it reaches its peak. So it may be a little bit early for this. A very good Brunello. It could easily see myself eating a bistecco or some lamb with this right now. That probably would make also the wine taste a little bit better, because if you don't have any food in you and you're drinking very strong wine, that's not very easy to do. All right, let's pour this away. And let's go to our third contestant. A little bit in the glass to clean it out. And let's pour some in. I didn't do this before, but my corks all go in the cork. Ow. Here we go. Okay, beautiful looking Brunello. Lots of color. I'd say in the middle between these two from a color perspective, much more see-through than what we just had on the San Filippo. And by the way, don't think I introduced this wine. This is the Barbi, Fattoria di Barbi, one of the most famous and legendary vineyards and producers in Brunello di Montalcino. Barbi. Much bigger producer, so much easier to get. There's much more availability in North America. All right, beautiful legs, beautiful color. I like the label a lot. It's a classic label, blue with a light blue emblem and some gold, yellow undertone for the Barbi name. So overall, pretty appearance, pretty bottle, nice legs, very pleased with the appearance. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. Very understated, not overbearing, very pleased with the aromas. Let's give it a whirl. Excellent. A little dry in the finish. That's why this 4-step, the finish, is so important. Because this wine, the Barbi, is just extremely pleasant when you have it on the palate. You feel all the fruit on the tongue. And then when you swallow it, your tongue contracts. It's almost like a little sour. And the finish is shorter. The finish of the Antinori was significantly longer, much better. Even the San Filippo had a longer finish. So as much as I like the Barbi in terms of the looks and the appearance and even the aromas, it was even in terms of the wine on the palate, but then in the finish, this wine is losing it for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I look at these three wines, my favorite, personal favorite right now to drink is the Pian delle Vigne. That's my favorite. Second, I would say San Filippo, the Le Lucerne single vineyard. And then, not bad, but I give it maybe a 3.9 or so, or 3.8, is the Barbi. Whereas here, the San Filippo, I give a 4.2. And my favorite really out of those three, I give a 4.5 for the Antinori product. That's it for tonight. If you like the show, follow me on Vivino, like the YouTube video, and subscribe. Until later.